Okay, so it's been a wild day since they released the new patch for the balancing of the Helldivers 2 weaponry system. This has been mental and blown well out of proportion, so we're going to dive on into all the information that we've got, as Arrowhead Game Studios and the CEO have made a slight statement with regards to why they've done what they've done, based on a minority of you guys who have kicked off about the railgun and the shield mainly taking their biggest hits. But I don't quite think you understand all of it completely. So today we're going to break down exactly what they've said and what it means for the game. So if you haven't already, smash that beautiful blue thumbs up and subscribe with post notifications turned on. It'd be greatly appreciated. On top of that, check out our sponsor, Control Freak, the #1 in controller gaming aiming. That's right, we made it rhyme, and you guys can catch 12% off if you go down to the description, click the link and use code CloudPlays at checkout. It's just really that simple, but we're going to dive on into the information at large. So Arrowhead Studios have put out a statement over on their website, of which the CEO of Arrowhead actually put a quoted tweet out for it. He stated, "We want to continue our trend of clearly communicating what's going on with Helldivers 2. So here's a detailed design, thoughts around why we did the balance changes to weapons and the way we did it. Presented by the Arrowhead old-timer Patrick Lasota." So when we look at the actual tweet from Arrowhead, we can see quite clearly that it states right here, our head of product testing, Patrick Lasota, has written a bit more detail about our philosophies on weapon and stratagem balancing for this latest patch and all our patches and our Arrowhead blog. So we're going to take a quick look at it. There has obviously been some comments on this. If you guys want to stick around for those, we're going to check out a few of them at the end of this. But for now, what we have got is this gargantuan article that they've posted up. Now, there are a few things that you guys primarily want to see, and that is going to be revolved around the nerfs, and that is pretty much what we're going to cover here. For everything else that we don't cover inside of this article, because there is heaps and heaps of info, the link is down in the description for you guys to go and check it out. And we're going to give you the bits that we know that you want to know and the bits you're wound up about, and the reasons why as far as the nerfs and fantasy protocols go. Now, it states right here, balancing the firepower in Helldivers 2. We recently released a patch containing our first round of balance changes in Helldivers 2, and our head of product testing has some valuable insight in our philosophies and practices alongside the patch. So as far as the primary weapons go, it states right here, first I'd like to speak to the general power of primary weapons. Many have commented that they aren't powerful enough and are unable to deal with their enemies either by the amount of ammunition required or their raw DPS. This is very much intentional. You need to rely on your stratagems and the stratagems of your team to deal with all of their enemies efficiently, either by eagle strikes, orbitals, support weapons, and or turrets. Some of your loadout slash team should be tailoring their loadout to killing the weaker stuff more efficiently. This doesn't mean that your primary weapon shouldn't feel good to use, but please understand that it is only a primary weapon in the sense that it's something you always spawn with. Now, this is exactly what we were talking about at the beginning. This is a strategic game. We do need to make sure we're running some sort of strategies behind it. This is going to become a little bit difficult, mainly for the overall solo players, I think, because they were kind of dependent on the breaker and the shield alongside the railgun, and that was just something that was quite difficult to overrun. But when they start talking about nerfs and fantasies, he states right here that I have, since the game release, seen many who say don't nerf, only buff, and the only other similar ideas. However, as a designer, I can tell you this is not a great idea, but I understand where the sentiment comes from. All too often in the gaming industry, the core fantasy and what makes people feel good and fun is ignored for the sake of balance. I believe players are scared of nerfs because it will ruin the fantasy of a weapon, ruin their fun, and it is extra important to us to tread carefully so that we don't ruin fantasy and fun when we do nerfs. We hope you, our players, will tell us when we cross that line inadvertently. Let's take a closer look at the changes that we have made for this balance patch. Now, they go in to talk about things such as the breaker initially, the original breaker, and this is probably one that you guys do want to hear about, and this is the breaker was quickly pinned down as the meta weapon, vastly overperforming other weapons and being the best choice for all Helldivers, at least if YouTube is to be believed. Now, Helldivers veterans will remember the breaker breaker from the first game and how powerful it was, and something we have made an effort to mimic in this as well. When we looked at the breaker and the data that we have on its usage, it painted a picture of well-liked weapon that was great at killing chaff and generally had a few more kills than other players. It was, however, not necessarily better at making you succeed a mission, and no real damage nerfs were warranted. The calculated total damage per magazine was quite enough compared to other weapons, however, and something that could be reined in while reinforcing the intended fantasy. The fantasy of the breaker is a powerful automatic shotgun that bucks wildly as you hose down targets in front of you. It should be deadly up close with high DPS, and its major drawback should be ammunition management and pacing your fire so that you do not overshoot target. To that end, we have lowered the amount of shells in the magazine and increased the recoil, which makes absolute sense when we start looking at the reason in why that's happened. One of the other weapons that we have though is the railgun, and this is a big one as well, and they do break down all of this. To be fair, I have got absolutely nothing bad to say about this patch, and I think that actually balancing is quite important when bringing things down and taking things up. I think that the way that games have done this in the past is probably our primary reason and scare for nerfs as an overall. But he is completely right with this. It's an automatic shotgun that should be deadly up close and not so great at range, and probably a little bit harder to control. But as far as the railgun goes, it states here, another one of the current meta weapons enforced by its convenience and efficiency. The railgun is really intended to be a high-powered anti-tank sniper rifle, required both timing with the unsafe fire mode and accuracy with where you hit the enemy. It was vastly overperforming in how safe it was to use and how convenient it was, not requiring a backpack for assistance or be effective, and not requiring risk to take out even larger armor targets. To that end, we have changed it so that the safe mode is capable of penetrating medium armor. Please take note of that. The safe mode was nerfed, not the unsafe mode, but such as automaton scout walkers, but not more heavy armored enemies like chargers and bile titans. For those targets, you must run it in unsafe mode and overcharge it. In addition, we reined in the railgun's ability to damage massive body parts, meaning to get any real efficiency out of it, you must score hits on heads and other weak points. We are aware it rose a prominence as part of other anti-tank weapons not being as convenient or efficient in comparison. We are monitoring the situation closely and will adjust more based on how this change plays out. But that's all we kind of really needed to know. I think as an overall, a lot of people were misconstrued, and maybe it's my fault as well for not wording it correctly, but they nerfed the safe mode. The unsafe mode is still just as unsafe as it was before, but the safe mode has actually been altered so that you guys can't just go in and just layer it on absolutely everybody and just take it to that degree. Now, the third and final piece that was on this was the shield backpack, and the shield backpack is safely at the expense of a backpack slot. Unfortunately, the safety offered up by the shield backpack was a bit too great, essentially allowing you to ignore many mechanics that contribute to the fun of Helldivers, such as knockback, shockwaves, and giant explosions, obliterating your and you friends. To that end, we have increased the time the shield needs before it starts regenerating, if not broken, quite significantly. This essentially means that you can't hide behind a rock for 5 seconds to get your shield back to full. Instead, it will be a degrading health bar until it breaks. When the shield breaks, it will no longer regenerate than before, but still significantly shorter than if it would not have broken. To compensate for those extra times, the regen speed of the shield itself is near instant to max HP. This is only a partial solve in our minds for the shield backpack, and it should bring it out from the must-have meta slot it has filled currently. And that is, again, completely true. I think just running in with the shield, taking in those overpowered weapons, the meta that was running into it, just essentially made it so that there was no real viable option other than just that. I personally think that that is more than enough for what we've actually managed to get, and I think that a lot of the community have gone absolutely wild inside of the Discord. The Discord for the Helldivers 2 is currently full, so you won't be able to rejoin it, but you can join ours where we're getting a load of the information spill over into there as well. Link is down in the description. But in the actual main Helldivers 2 Discord, there is so much kicking off right now, and everybody's like just going absolutely haywire. It's been a little bit wild, but most of you guys have been really, really kind to the CEO, to the development team, to Arrowhead Studios, and I think that personally a nerf isn't always a bad thing as long as they can acknowledge why it happened, how it happened, and what it is that's to come next. Massive shout out to Arrowhead. You've got my full support on this one. I think that it just went down way too badly based on the fact that a nerf is still a nerf and everybody takes a nerf poorly, but these aren't bad changes. I was quite happy with the patch personally. Feel free to call me out for that one. Now, for today's video though, we are going to still be giving away the copy of Helldivers 2, and if you've already got it, then we're going to be giving away the super credits in equivalent. If you do want to get involved with it, then please stick a tick emoji in the comment section below, because I feel like we've ticked off this one. We don't need to talk about the patch anymore. If you haven't already, smash that beautiful blue thumbs up and subscribe with post notifications turned on. It's been an absolute pleasure being able to report to you guys this week. We've had an absolutely incredible week, and you are slowly but surely changing my life forever. Thank you so much again for watching. Appreciate your faces. Like, subscribe, and get involved by hitting a tick in the comment section. And I'll see you in the clouds.